Heard that there was a waterfall out there someplace, and at some point it now got overtaken by I believe what's the river / lake that they have going through there.
Yes, sir. This is N5BB. So the marble is essentially the same thing as granite. And so there's lakes with names like Granite Shoals, as well as, Marble Falls. And so the granite, or you could say marble, is essentially at ground level there. You don't need to dig down deep for it. So you could put a quarry without having to do a lot of digging. It's just right there near the surface. And the Texas State Capitol building was made out of granite, which was quarried there in that area. And they built a railroad line from there to downtown Austin just to move the granite down there for the Capitol building. But there's a stone company that still moves stuff down there. And also Austin has a rail, a transit thing, which also runs on that same line in the Austin area. And I own a house in Austin. It's the old house I grew up in. And that line I'm talking about goes less than a mile from our house. So, yep, I know where Marble Falls is. I've had some, cousins of my grandfather or something that lived in that area in the past. N5BB.
Well, very cool, Bill. I'm at my first destination. I'll probably be back on here in, an hour or so, going off to the next one. Good talking to you. Good to hear from you. And, I had no idea I'd be learning a little bit about Marble Falls and the Texas State Capitol. Anyways, I'll see you later. Have a good evening. 7-3, N5BB, K5FBB. I'll be clear.
Well, very good, Duran. For an hour, you'll have Skynet. Starting in about 10 minutes is Skynet. So you hear a lot of activity on here. And then after, we have the Afterglow, where we talk about typically a science fiction movie until about midnight. 73, good to hear you on, Duran. K5FBB and 5BB.
WC9Z.
Yes, this is N5BB. How can I help you?
Well, I just wanted to let you know that from here, I don't hear any difference between the end of your transmission and the squelch tail.
Well, I must be close to full quieting then. All I know is that when I listen to signals, they're not full quieting in my radio. So on the receive side on my end, it's not perfect. So I probably could continue moving the antenna around to find a better location. There's a large room with glass. It's kind of like a sunroom that's adjacent to where I've got my ham station. But there's nothing in that room. It's not heated or cooled. And I'm moving the antenna around to different locations in that room, just kind of propping it against the glass. There's large glass windows in all the sides back there. So that's what I'm doing. It's not a very good way of doing things. I need an outside antenna, but I'm renting this house, and right now there's no easy way to get the coax out for various reasons from that location. Anyway, thanks. 73 at 5BB.
Have solar film on there, do they?
No, but this particular location isn't really good to the repeater. I live over near DFW Airport, and between here and the repeater, kind of have to go across Dallas, and it's not the best. If I had an antenna up in the air, it'd be solid. But here at ground level, with surrounding buildings and things, it's just not the best thing in the world. Over on the driveway on the west side of the house, which is shielded from this repeater, it's even worse. There's a lot of fading if I move around. So this is just location. And again, if I could put an antenna up just like 15 feet in the air, it would be 100%. See you later, in 5dB.
Okay, well, I just wanted to give you a report from up here in Plano. This is WT9Z 73.
Is that WT9Z as Victor or Z as in zebra?
Z is in Victor. Just got the call yesterday. I used to be KI5 EVO.
Oh, very good. And remind me of your name.
His name is Michael.
W5FC.
Really good, Michael. Yeah, this is Bill, N5DB. And I'm an old hand, literally old. I'm 65. And as of next month, I'll be in the ham for 50. That's 50 years. I got my novice license, my first amateur ticket when I was licensed when I was 15 years old, between the 9th and 10th grades of high school, 1969. So I got my license about a month before Neil Armstrong walked on the moon. So that's how long it's been. And things have changed a lot. Anyway, good talking to you, Michael. We will see you later. And here in about 5 minutes, we have Skynet starting on this repeater. In 5dB clear.
Okay, see you then. Sorry, old call. WT9Z.
I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Is it just me, or is that a little bit worrying with tonight's movie, WT9V?
To be back, KE5ICX.
Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? It's Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. My name is Brenda, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time using the pro sign break with your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to W5FC.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur radio operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. First, we have general announcements. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, National Space Society events. Discussion topic of the evening was up. A featured constellation or objects are topic. Recent astronomical let's go for general check-ins. Please come now.
Golf 5, Whiskey Zulu Zulu, Bob in North Dallas. Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas.
Hello, Echo 5, India, Charlie, X-Ray, Tom, Louisville.
Okay, let's put those on. I'm going to need a couple of cells, and the first one, Michael started, I believe, with Whiskey Bravo 9, and I missed after that. If you please come back.
Tango 9 Victor.
I'm sorry, Whiskey Tango 9 Victor. Michael, welcome to the net. K5KXT, KTX, Kelly, KF5JHA, Chaz, KG5P, Mike, KG5WVL, James, N5BB, Bill, and then the next one, I got KG5, and this is Bob, and I don't have the rest of it.
That was KG5, Whiskey Zulu Zulu, Bob.
KG5 Whiskey Zulu Zulu Bob, and NT5TM Tony, KE5ICX Tom. Do we have any Echo Link check-ins?
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, J near Weatherford.
We have Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey J. Any additional check-ins from any mode, please come now.
Oh, Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
5 Alpha November Papa, Allen in Dallas.
Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
Okay, we have KF5ZBL Bill. The next one, Alan, I got K5AN, I believe. Would you please fill me in on that?
Kilo 5 Alpha November Papa.
Kilo 5 Alpha November Papa, Alan. Then AA5 AH, Robert. All right, anybody else?
Kilo Yankee Golf, Calvin in Arlington.
I think that was Whiskey 7, Whiskey. Well, I'm sorry. I can't read my writing. If you please come back.
Problem, Whiskey 7 Kilo Yankee Golf.
Whiskey 7 Kilo Yankee Golf. Alrighty. Does anybody have any news for the net? Please come now. K5 KTX. K5 KTX. Go ahead, please. Good evening, everybody, to the net. And this is K5 KTX, and some of you may remember a few years ago there was a TV series on the Science Channel called The Meteorite Men, and it was a great show, 3 seasons, watched all of them. It was a lot of fun, and one of the 2 guys that were on that show, Jeffrey Notkin, owns Aerolite Meteorites, and I am on their newsletter list. And I got an interesting newsletter this week that I thought everybody, some people might be interested in. So I'm just going to read it from the email that I got. Aerolite Meteorites is pleased to announce we will be joining forces with dinosaur brokers to bring an exciting dinosaur and meteorite museum exhibit to the Sherman Museum in Sherman, Texas this summer only. The Sherman Museum will house the Dinosaur and Meteorites, a Flash from the Past exhibit through August 17th. Come for a thrilling glimpse into the events which caused dinosaurs to go extinct nearly 65 million years ago. Aerolite and dinosaur brokers have brought some of their best specimens to Texas. It's going to be one that you don't want to miss. To kick off the summer fun, Jeffrey Notkin, CEO of Aerolite Meteorites and President of the National Space Society, and John Bennett, owner of Dinosaur Brokers and Paleo Bond, will take you on an adventure of how space and time touched Earth and changed the future of dinosaurs forever this coming Monday, May the 20th, at 2 p.m. in the Sherman Museum Lecture Hall. Seating is limited, and it's recommended that you call the museum for reservations. And so this, I wish I could go because, I have this 4-letter word thing called work. But Jeffrey Notkin is a lot of fun, and I bet it would be a great talk to listen to. But also just the exhibit itself sounds very interesting. So again, this is the Dinosaurs and Meteorites exhibit, a flash from the past at the Sherman Museum in Sherman, Texas. I believe the exhibit opens on May 22nd. And this is K5 KTX. Kelly, well, I want to make an announcement about a lecture that's coming up. Wally Funk, who is an early astronaut trainee, well, not really, but there were 13 women called the Mercury 13 at the time. The Mercury 7 men were training. They were also training in the endurance test and medical test. And unfortunately, even though they did very well on the test, they were not allowed to go on and join the astronaut program. But she is a fantastic speaker. If you ever heard her, you know that. And it's a very interesting story. So it's June 29th, that's a Saturday, from 3 to 5 p.m. at the Allen Public Library in the Civic Auditorium, and that's at 300 North Allen Drive in Allen, and it's free. Can't beat that. It doesn't say here you have to call and reserve. I think it's just first come, first serve. You can go to the cityofallen.org website to find out more information if you're interested. Okay, any other announcements?
Number Tango 5, Tango Mike.
NT5TM, go ahead, Tony.
Thank you, Brenda. Apparently we are celebrating Thunderstorm Pop-Up Day by having a pop-up right over the house, so I'm operating indoors on an HD. But this is a great night. It's not the last night of the night. We have an Afterglow movie net coming up tonight at 10:30 p.m., and tonight's Afterglow movie is the original Terminator from 1984. Yes, when I sign off, I can truthfully say, I'll be back. Of course, I'd like to remind everyone to start getting their station ready for field day. Think about whether you're going to participate from home or from one of the many clubs around the area. And do remember that many folks need power pole equipment to get their equipment powered at field day, and the DARC will be helping that on Saturday, May 25th. We'll be at the Dallas Medical Center, northeast corner of Webb Chapel and LBJ. There are more details at w5fc.org. We have lots of projects relating to Anderson power poles. You can use these for all sorts of things relating to 12-volt power for your amateur radio equipment. So please join us at the lecture and lab next weekend. Please join us for the Afterglow movie net tonight, and keep dry. NT5TM.
Yeah, it is pouring at my house here in DeSoto. This is a fairly localized storm, but we had 2 inches of rain here earlier. Had a lot of that sideways rain, so maybe that didn't make it to the rain gauge, and maybe it rained more than 2 inches. Okay, the AMSAT, Radio Amateur Satellite Group, has 2 nets available to Dallas residents on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time. You will need Echolink installed and be registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website, and that's AMSATnet. AMSATnet. That's easy for you to say. AMSATnet.com. This net originates in Houston, Texas. Dallas AMSATnet, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.14 megahertz, PL 110.9 megahertz, positive offset. Okay, I'd like to call on KE5ICX, Tom, to give us a synopsis of tonight's Afterglow, the Terminator. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Brenda. This is KE5ICX, and I'll be happy to do that. The Cyberdyne Systems Model 101 was an efficient killing machine, but he had a heart of gold. Well, actually, it was made of steel. But don't tell him that, or he'll tear your heart out and claim it as his own. What a romantic lunk. He pushed the beta tape into the slot and hit play. The screen came to life. The image stabilized, and Olivia Newton-John appeared in her workout gear, and the voice warbled to life. Let's get physical. Physical. I want to get physical. And the screen went dark. By 2029, the beta tape machines were fewer and fewer. The Terminator knew he needed to make a quick trip to 1984 and pick up a new machine. But would it alter the future? Find out at 10:30 p.m. Our next Afterglow movie, The Terminator. And now be back to KE5ICX.
indeed. Arnold Schwarzenegger was attacked in someplace in South Africa today. Somebody basically kicked him in the back, did some kind of a Jackie Chan kick. And he just kind of thought he was being jostled until he saw the video. It's like, what a guy. You are attacked and assaulted, and you just think you got pushed. Okay, you can hear all the ARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, w5fc.org. So do we have any additional check-ins? Please come now.
Is Ski Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot India WB4MFI Ted Dallas Low Power.
Kilo Foxtrot 5 Tango Hotel Bravo via Echolink, Cleveland, Ohio.
Information about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. Please come now.
F5JHA, and Brenda, there was a check-in on Echolink while you were transmitting.
I had a message about that. Did you want to talk about the TAS?
Absolutely. This is KF5JHA. Just want to let you know that the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas has meetings on the fourth Friday of each month. Well, 10 months out of the year. January through October. Then in November they have it on the Friday before Thanksgiving, which is usually the third Friday. And then in December there isn't a meeting. There's sometimes a holiday activity. So anyway, for 10 months of the year, the fourth Friday of each month, the Texas Astronomical Society has a meeting at 7:30. That's at the University of Texas at Dallas on Campbell Road. It's in the Science Learning Center on the first floor, the lecture hall. There's usually something going on at 7 o'clock, new members, something like that, activity or something going on a half an hour before the meeting. So show up about 7 o'clock. Also, the Texas Astronomical Society holds 4 stargazings each month. One on the first, second, third, and fourth Saturdays of each month. The first Saturday of each month, the Stargazer Star Party is in Spring Park in Garland. The second Saturday of each month is the Frisco Star Fest at the Frisco Commons Park in Frisco. The third Saturday, which would be now, the Cedar Hill Star Bolt is at J.W. Williams Park, but it's raining right now here in Mesquite and there, so I don't think they're having their Star Party tonight. And the fourth Friday is Stars on the Rock at the Shores Park in Rockwall. So, anybody have any questions or need any fills on this? Hey, it's back to net control. Thank you, Brenda. KF5JHA.
Okay, thank you, Chaz. Okay, we have a station on Echolink, KF5PHB, Brent in Cleveland. Welcome, Brent. Any other check-ins? This is WB50ZL. Let's move on to National Space Society events and activities. We'll call on Bill N5BB to see if he has any information.
Yes, I have a lot of things tonight. This is N5BB. By the way, I am the membership director of the local North Texas National Space Society chapter. If you're interested in joining the group, you can contact me at N5BB. Here's a better way, space@byram.net. SPACE at BYROM.net. Anyway, or you can use N5BB at ARRL.net. So recent events, last week we had, last Saturday, the local National Space Society chapter had a STEM Scout event at UT Dallas in Richardson, and that went very well in the visitor center. A lot of kids there. We were very, very busy. Richardson Wireless Club was also there. We then had our meeting on Sunday, this last Sunday, May the 12th. As always, the meeting is in the Irving at Spring Creek Barbecue, corner of Beltline and Highway 183, southwest corner, at 3:30 Sunday afternoon. The next meeting will be in June, on June the 9th. It's always the second Sunday of the month. So June the 9th, Sunday afternoon, 3:30 p.m. in Irving, will be the next National Space Society North Texas meeting. We have a lot of events going on. I'll just real quickly list some of these. There is an event called at the Fort Worth Museum of Science and Technology, which was rebuilt a few years ago. It's a very nice museum, science museum, in the museum district over in Fort Worth, near the art museums, right down the street from them. And they have an event called Launchpad Promise of Discovery. And that's going on. A lot of these things are based on the 50th anniversary of our landing on the moon in 1969. So anyway, this is going on June the 1st, Saturday. NSS will be there. And then, as I mentioned, the local grid meeting is on Sunday, June the 9th. And then we have Space Day at the South Irving Public Library, which is right across the street from City Hall in Irving. And that's going to be on Saturday, the 29th of June at 2 o'clock. Then, the following day, Sunday, June the 30th, we have Asteroid Day at the Perot Museum in downtown Dallas. And then, July the 13th, Saturday, we have another Space Day. Like I say, it's 50th anniversary of landing on the moon, so there's a lot of Space Days going on. And this one on July the 13th is in Weatherford, at the Weatherford Public Library. That's Saturday, July the 13th at 1 p.m. The following day, Sunday, July the 14th, is the local group meeting in Irving. And then on July the 20th, we have Moon Day. This will be the 50th anniversary to the day, because on July the 20th, 1969, our time, or UTC, I should say, the Apollo 11 crew set the spacecraft down on the moon. And a few hours later, Neil Armstrong walked down the steps and stepped on the moon. So that's all going on July the 20th at the Frontiers of Flight Museum. This is on the east side of Love Field. Backs up to the fence of the airport. July the 20th. Be there or be square. I'm sure the Dallas Amatorial Club will also be there, as well as MSAT. So those are the local events. Real quickly for news in space. So SpaceX, Blue Origin, and NASA have all been in the news recently. Unfortunately, SpaceX had an anomaly during a recent test of its Crew Dragon ship. This is the crew capsule. they were testing the rockets that during an emergency would pull the crew capsule away from the main rocket, and those rockets tested correctly. But a few seconds later, they were going to test a bigger rocket. So the small rockets, attitude control rockets, roughly that size, they pull the spacecraft, the capsule, away from the main rocket. And then there's an additional secondary rocket, the bigger one, that moves it away. That additional secondary rocket, something went wrong, and the whole thing burned up or exploded. It was a very bad event. So they're working on that. They still hope to have successful launch of humans with the SpaceX capsule before the end of this year, but it's unsure if that will really happen. Origin saw successful launch and landing of its New Shepard reusable rocket, marking its 11th flight and landing. And NASA has been working on the proposed 2024 lunar landing, and they're also working on electrical issues at the International Space Station, which messed some things up. In Austin, a suburb of Austin, Firefly Aerospace has big things going on. They are hoping, they have a contract to get NASA to the moon by 2024. And they successfully completed a 5-minute test launch of its booster engines. It's a static launch. And by the end of this year, they hope to launch their 95-foot Alpha rocket. Again, this is Firefly Aerospace in Austin, bankrolled by another organization that has quite a bit of money. They have a contract to develop and deliver a lunar lander to the moon and back using their rocket. So they have a contract with NASA to deliver things to the moon and get them back using their rockets. So this is pretty ambitious. And they're hoping to do this by 2024 to get humans back on the moon. Then, progress is proceeding on the Mars Lockheed Martin mission, and they have a 2020 for the next Mars robot, and they're working on that. And of course, there's also Lockheed Martin's working on a crew capsule for NASA. In addition to all these things, there's a local company, Exos Aerospace, which is south of Greenville, about 5 miles near Caddo Mills, and they have made launches this year of their craft, their rocket. They are pushing for low Earth orbit. So that's the kind of things they're doing, is small, low Earth orbit deliveries. And they've been successful so far. And they also have a reusable rocket. Lots of things going on in space this year. We should hopefully late this year, maybe early next year, see more than one private group launching astronauts into space on new spacecraft. So 50 years after we went to the moon, this year is when we kind of get back going with non-Russian spacecraft. In 5BB, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. We have a couple more check-ins. N5IMS, JJ in Carrollton, and KS5PDS, Billy in Sherman. Any additional check-ins, please come down. Okay, tonight's feature is about microbots, an idea in the future. This is something Stephen Hawking was a big fan of. And of course, this is somewhat in the future, but it's a very intriguing idea. So when humans finally venture into interstellar space, the place we're most likely to go to first is the sun's closest neighbor, Alpha Centauri. Standard, but it is a collection of 3 stars, allowing us to explore a trio of possible planetary systems for the price of 1. It's a no-brainer, says Thomas Ayers, an astronomer at the University of Colorado Boulder, who spoke at a meeting of the American Astronomical Society in Denver, Colorado. Furthermore, 2 of its stars, Alpha Centauri A and Alpha Centauri B, are a lot like the sun, one a bit brighter, the other a bit smaller and dimmer. The third, Alpha Centauri C, is a red dwarf, not much bigger than Jupiter. In fact, Ayers says there's a proposal called Starship, backed by the late Stephen Hawking, to send a swarm of microbots to the trio before the end of this century, powered by laser light cells. These tiny robots would reach speeds high enough that even though Alpha Centauri is 4.3 light years away, it would get there within 25 years. What are the chances that such a probe would find planets suitable for at the moment? We don't know whether any of the stars has an Earth-like world and habitable zones, so Goldilocks region, and it is neither too hot nor too cold for liquid water. But there are planets within an appropriate distance from the star. This isn't the only thing that would make them habitable. Habitability is also affected by space water, Ayers said. Space weather has to do with high emissions from the star, powered by flares of similar events, produce bursts of radiation that all solar systems can endanger astronauts and disrupt communications, power grids, and other devices that backbone of modern civilization. But that's here with our own same star. Elsewhere, such events can produce radiation that sterilize planets or strip away atmospheres before lightning and has to evolve to the point where there would be any what about this decision of the internet. Some stars storm over 100 times more power than anything our sun has known of during human history, says Sophia Moshew, a high-energy astrophysicist at Harvard Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics in Massachusetts. In determining a solar system's habitability, she says, we really start to taking into account space weather, which is in the case of Alpha Centauri. Ayers says that leads to different conclusions. If it's 3 stars, 2 stars have space weather environments that are large environments we see around our own sun, he said, and one is really, really bad. And conclusions from NASA's X-ray telescope, which has measured X-ray emissions from Alpha Centauri off and on for 2 decades. AC-A, the largest of the 3, appears to produce milder space weather than the sun. AC is about 6 times higher in X-ray. The hazard is higher than the sun, but not crazy high. Interrupts, thinking crazy high scientific term. AC-C is an entirely different matter. Not only does the small star produce a lot of X-rays, but it is dim enough that the only planet can be in the habitable zone is in orbit so close that they would be periodically hit by planets that go to them. Planets in the habitable around Alpha Centauri receive an average dose of X-rays about 50 times larger than the Earth and 50 times larger than during a big flare. You would not want to go there if you're wearing a big lead suit. Next article. Engines powered by ions are currently carrying satellites outside of our solar system.
at 11 magnitude star for a while, and was recording the images at the same time. Well, as staring at the screen of the images, we did see the star, and, well, I should point out the back end. In the shadow, the Kuiper Belt object must have been either further north or further south. There were telescopes up in Mexico, up in the north of us, and also out in California. All reports have been negative, so no sites observed the occultation. The results have already been published in the paper. Unfortunately, the paper lists my last name from Havey to Havey. And I didn't know I was changing my last name, but I guess I'm going to need to do that. Another non-TSD activity that I participated in was spending half of a night observing visually through the 82-inch telescope done on Saturday morning, the 4th, about 3 times a month. The public can pay for service spots visually through the 82-inch telescope. About 15 people reserved their spot on the night observing around from about 2 a.m. until dawn Saturday, May the 4th. I happened to be one of the people. There was an early night that observed from dusk until 2 a.m. Our 2 a.m. session started off with M51, which is the Probable Galaxy. It has 2 pieces. In a small telescope, you can see the individual parts to it. At full exposure of M51, you can actually see the bridge in between these 2 parts. Through the 82-inch telescope, the 2 objects were connected with a twisting, interlacing, and glowing stars that really look like a object. Look at like M13, the globular cluster of Hercules, the Cacti Planetary Nebula, which is the end of a star slide. Each object looks so much different than that of a regular telescope that I'm used to seeing, much smaller telescopes. In fact, 2 telescope objects at the 82-inch indicated that the seeing and transparency best they had seen in about a decade. We were able to observe 17 objects. 2 were Jupiter and Saturn. Looking at Jupiter, the operators had to put a filter on 13% of the light from Jupiter to the eyepiece. It might have even hurt our eyes. The red spot on Jupiter's atmosphere looks so much like a painting with the details that I've never seen before through a telescope. Even special spacecraft images didn't seem to compare to the details that I was seeing. The closer of Saturn revealed about 7 or 8 moons are just zoomed right in to Saturn. I've never seen that many that close in to Saturn before. 5 HA, this is Skynet. Session was over. Sleepy but tired. A year ago, I spent a night observing the 36-inch telescope at McCray, and I didn't think it could get any better. I was wrong. The morning of May 4th, 2008 will always be in my memory now. Now, what can you see in tonight's sky? Well, if it were clear, I'll let you know that in just a moment. The Mars can be found of Gemini the twins in the evening western sky, the low in the eastern sky in the constellation of Scorpius, and it's full tonight. And on May the 20th, the moon will be in conjunction with the planet Jupiter. The moon will be in conjunction with Saturn just a couple days later on May the 22nd. On May the 26th, the moon is at apogee with a distance of 4,134 kilometers. That's when it's furthest away from the Earth in its orbit. And also on May the 26th, the moon is at its 3rd quarter phase. And staying up for a little while in the evenings, Jupiter rises just after 10 p.m. Next week, and you'll see it rising pretty easily. It's a pretty bright object. Rises around midnight.
Additional check-ins.
Out in this week's issue of Science, bunch of preliminary findings from the New Horizons exploration mission to 2014 U-69, better known as Ultima Thule, has been released. Only about 10% of the total available data has been returned because internet service out there in the Kuiper Belt is very poor, but we do have enough data to make some conclusions about Ultima Thule. The most important one is just how different and quiet things are out there. Ultima Thule is largely unchanged since its formation about 4 billion years ago, and that formation was surprisingly gentle. It's composed of two very different halves, one round like a ball, the other flat like a pancake, and they came together so gently, like friends, not in a violent impact like the moon, or anything that made the moon or the Earth. There are a lot of press releases and news stories about this. I hope you'll look them up. But it's interesting, the violent collisions that we associate with the formation of things like the Earth and Mars and the Moon and Mercury don't really seem to have played an important part in the formation of Ultima Thule. Closer to home, the Chinese lunar lander Chang'e 4 has found pieces of the Moon's mantle. Chang'e was the first vehicle to land on the far side of the Moon. It uses a special communication satellite that China launched earlier. Has landed in an unusual era. The
area, the Aitken Basin near the south pole of the moon. This is the moon's largest impact crater. Now, it's impractical because we don't have an unlimited budget to just launch a big giant drill to the moon to get samples from deep under the crust. So scientists have to land in a big crater and hope that a previous impact has kicked up deep fragments from inside the moon. And although it doesn't appear that the fragments came from the impact that created Aitken Basin, it does appear that nearby impacts have kicked up pieces from underneath the crust of the moon. That's pretty neat, and chemists and geologists are both learning more about the moon right now. Now, sometimes I can regale you with dozens of things from space history. This is not one of those weeks. It seems to have been a bit of a slow week, but the things we have are pretty awesome. On May 14th, 1973, the first American home away from home in space was launched. The third stage of a Saturn V was converted into a house in space, and Skylab was launched. Now, if you've ever visited space attractions like Kennedy Space Center or Johnson Space Center, you've gotten a chance to see mock-ups of different sized space capsules, climb into or put on a Mercury capsule, climb into an Apollo capsule, climb into a space shuttle mock-up. And you kind of wonder, especially with the space shuttle, man, they put 7 people in this little thing? How did they get any work done? The only thing I've ever seen that went into space that I can imagine being a practical place to live and work is the training mock-up of Skylab down at Johnson Space Center in Houston. And that's neat because it's not even the whole thing. It's the orbital workshop part, but not the airlock and Apollo telescope module control part. So it's not even the entire habitable volume. But it's big. It's got a shower and bunks and a lunchroom and scientific instruments. You can really imagine people living and working there. And they did. Unfortunately, it was a difficult launch, one of the very few failures in all of the history of the Saturn program. Part of the heat shield of the Skylab orbital workshop peeled off during launch. That not only ripped off about half the station's power supply, but it jammed the space station's other satellite solar panel and ripped off its heat shield, so it was deprived of power and overheating. The first crew had a very different mission than they expected. They had to work in the heat and difficulty, make an unscheduled EVA in a place with no handholds or grips. They had to unfurl that solar panel, put up a heat shield, and then get to work with all their experiments. It was tough, but Skylab hosted a total of 3 crews for about 84 days. It was the only space station operated solely by the United States. It was a big success, except for one thing. The space shuttle wasn't ready in time. Yes, it had a special docking adapter. They'd hoped they'd be able to get the space shuttle up to visit it, but the space shuttle just took too long, and so Skylab disintegrated in July of 1979. That was the first news story I can ever remember happening because, let's face it, I've been a nerd for a long time. On May 15th, 1963, well before Skylab, somebody fell asleep. He fell asleep during launch, and then he fell asleep several times in space. That's right. It's time for Gordo Cooper to wake up. Phase 7 was launched. Yes, I'm just getting very excited because I like all these space history stories. Mercury Atlas 9 was the final mission in the Mercury program. It was launched on May 15, 1963 from Launch Complex 14 at Cape Canaveral, Florida. Phase 7 completed 22 Earth orbits before splashing down in the Pacific Ocean. Gordo Cooper was then an Air Force major, and let me tell you, he was cool as a cucumber. He was the last American to go into space alone, and it was a really special mission. He not only took several naps in space, but he had to cope with a spacecraft that just wasn't up to the mission. NASA had wanted to compete with the Soviet Union, which had launched several missions of one-day duration, so they launched Gordon up into space for a day. But by his last orbit, almost every automatic system on his spacecraft had failed. Power had gone out, the automatic stabilization and control system had failed. He had some limited DC power and a lot of manual control. But Mercury focused on training its astronauts for any eventuality. He took pencils and made marks on the windows so that he could use the constellations to keep his spacecraft oriented. Astronauts on the ground gave him a countdown to the exact time for retrofire, which he actuated manually. Then he kept his capsule stable on his own, and as it came down to an almost picture-perfect landing in the prime recovery area. So, he may have been cool as a cucumber, but he was also sharp as a tack. Skipping forward, on May 16th and 17th, Venera 5 and Venera 6, two Soviet probes, crash-landed into Venus. These probes both landed in 1969. They were two probes, really. Each had a flyby relay spacecraft and an atmosphere entry probe that was designed to measure the temperature and composition of Venus's rather hellish atmosphere. They even used special small parachutes because when the atmosphere is hundreds of times thicker than Earth, it doesn't take much to slow you down. They did a good job, and it was a very kind of earnest attempt on the part of the Soviet Union to come up with a space achievement that would detract from the Apollo program, but it didn't really work. All that chemistry about high-temperature sulfuric acid was blown out of the water by what happened on May 18th, 1969. Apollo 10 was launched. Close, but not yet. It was the big dress rehearsal for the Apollo 11 moon landing. Apollo 10 was crewed by Tom Stafford, John Young, and Gene Cernan. It was the fourth crewed mission in the Apollo program and the second after Apollo 8 to orbit the moon. It was the one and only F-class mission. A dress rehearsal for the first moon landing, testing all the components and procedures just short of actually landing. They were deliberately given a short-fueled lunar module that was not capable of landing on the moon. They were a little afraid the astronauts would get excited and want to land on the moon first. Instead, they were given just enough fuel to simulate an abort in which the lunar module ascent stage blasted off from the descent stage. The two halves separated just short of landing on the moon, about 47,000 feet. Kind of where you can go in an airplane if you're flying commercial from one place to another. Apollo 10 and Apollo 11 were pretty impressive missions. They were the only Apollo missions where every member of the crew was a veteran, and they were the only Apollo mission where all of the crew members went on to fly a subsequent mission. John Young from Apollo 10 later commanded Apollo 16. Eugene Cernan from Apollo 10 later commanded Apollo 17. And Tom Stafford commanded the U.S. space vehicle, the Apollo craft, and the Apollo-Soyuz Joint Space Mission, the ASTP. The ascent stage of the Apollo lunar module, named Snoopy, was jettisoned into space. Its current location is completely unknown. It is the only once crewed spacecraft still in outer space without a crew. Every other spacecraft ever used by a human has crashed into another celestial body, the Earth, the Moon, you name it. But the lunar module Snoopy is lost, adrift, and empty. And that's worth mentioning. The crew picked really clever names. Charlie Brown was the command module, Snoopy was the lunar module, and they didn't do this on the QT. Cool what you can do when you're an astronaut. They got permission from the creator of Peanuts and Charles Schulz. Schulz even drew some of the mission art for them. So Snoopy and Charlie Brown paved the way for the later success in Apollo 11. That's all I had. Just a few things, but a really exciting week of cool stuff. Skylab and Apollo 10. This is NT5TM. Wake up, Gordo.
Well, thank you so much, Tony. It's almost 10:30, so we're going to go ahead and skip the other segments and take a little 5-minute break and move into Afterglow. But first, do we have any additional check-ins? Hey, tonight we had 20 participating hands. Thanks for all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda, and I'll be closing the net at 10:27 local time. I'm returning the repeater to normal amateur use. Good night, everybody.
Completely operational, and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
E5ICX will begin the Afterglow Movie Net in about 5 minutes. Go powder your nose. Okay, E5ICX. This is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray. We're about to begin the Afterglow movie net. Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin? I ask because, well, why not?
Your clothes. Give them to me.
Oh my, this is going to be a good one tonight. I think this is a popular movie. It's so popular, I don't think I'd seen it, but that's okay. This is KE5ICX. I'll be net control for tonight's Afterglow movie net. We are talking about, yes, Skynet. No, we're not. We already did Skynet, but Skynet's involved, but you already knew that, didn't you? Yes, you all knew that. Okay, let's get started. First off, what I'm going to do is give you the information here from my personal information source called Wiki. Talk about the movie that we watched, which is called The Terminator from 1984. How do you know about this stuff ahead of time? Well, you can send an email to me, Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-ray, KE5ICX at yahoo.com. Let me know that you would like to be a part of the list, and I will send out the movie a week ahead of time. In fact, I do it on Sunday mornings to let you know what the movie will be. Or you can go to Facebook if you're one of those people. Put in Afterglow movie, that's 2 words, Afterglow, and movie, and say you'd like to sign up, and I'll put you on the list that way. Either way, or both ways is fine. You can have a discussion there as well about movies and links and all that fun stuff. So, yeah, it's evil. I know Facebook is evil. We all know it's evil. But it's also very useful. So, movies and information on stuff that's going on is pretty cool. The rules, really simple. We talk about the plot. We talk about characterization. We talk about special effects. But first, I give you the synopsis of the movie, and then you think about plot, because that's what you're going to be asked for as you get to check in. So we'll check in as soon as I give the synopsis, which is The Terminator is 1984 American science fiction film directed by James Cameron. Yeah, that James Cameron. It stars Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator, a cyborg assassin sent back in time from 2029 to 1984 to kill Sarah Connor, played by Linda Hamilton, whose son will one day become a savior against the machines in the post-apocalyptic future. Michael Ben plays Kyle Reese, a soldier from the future sent back in time to protect Connor. The screenplay is credited to Cameron and producer Gail Ann Hurd, who, while co-writer William Wisher Jr. received a credit for additional dialogue. Terminator topped the United States box office for 2 weeks and helped launch Cameron's film career and solidify Schwarzenegger's. It received critical acclaim, with many praising its pacing, action scenes, and Schwarzenegger's performance. Its success led to the franchise consisting of 4 sequels: Terminator 2, Judgment Day, Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, Terminator Salvation, Terminator Genesis, and Terminator might think is clogged. Also a television series, comic books, novels, video games, and in 2008, the Terminator was selected by the Library of Congress for preservation in the National Film Registry as culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Read the first couple of paragraphs involving the plot, because it does go on a little bit. It says, in 1984 Los Angeles, a cyborg assassin known as Terminator arrives from 2029 and steals clothes and guns. Shortly afterward, Kyle Reese, a human soldier sent back in time from the same year, arrives. He steals clothes and weapons and evades the police. Terminator begins systematically killing women named Sarah Connor, whose addresses it finds in a telephone directory. Couldn't do that today, could he? Couldn't find them at all. There are no telephone directories. It tracks the last Sarah Connor to a nightclub, but Kyle rescues her. The pair steal a car to escape with the Terminator, that's a capital T by the way, Terminator pursuing them in a police car. As they hide in a parking lot, Kyle explains to Sarah that an artificial intelligence defense network known as Skynet will become self-aware in the near future and initiate a nuclear holocaust. Well, we always knew that. Sarah's future son John will rally the survivors and lead a resistance movement, complete with resistors, against Skynet and its army of machines. You know who they are. With the resistance on the verge of victory, Skynet set a Terminator back in time to kill Sarah before John is born to prevent the formation of the resistance. Is your nose bleeding yet? It should be. The Terminator, a Cyberdyne Systems Model 101 is an efficient killing machine with a powerful metal endoskeleton, that's on the inside, and an external layer of living tissue that makes it appear human. Kyle also explains to Sarah that the Terminator is so efficient because since it is a robot, it has no feelings. Hence, it will never hold back or hesitate when trying to assassinate someone. What a lovable guy. Right, there's more, but everybody has a nosebleed because this involves time travel and paradoxes and people going, you know what a paradox is? It's a couple of doctors deciding on something. Any rate, let me go ahead and stop now before things get out of control. This is KE5ICX. I'm net control for tonight's Afterglow Movie Net involving Skynet, but it's not Skynet, is it? This is the Terminator. Is it? I think that's the movie. Why, yes, it is. The Terminator. The first movie. No bloody A, B, C, or D. This is the first. So I'll go ahead and take check-ins. Here's how we do it. Please come with your call sign phonetically, your name. Let me know where you're transmitting from. Let me know if you saw the movie or not. That does not mean if you didn't see the movie, and who hasn't, but if you haven't, that's okay. You can still talk about time travel and nosebleeds. So let's get started. I'll take call sign, name, where you're transmitting from. Did you see the movie? Please come now. Use your best Schwarzenegger voice.
This is November 5, Bravo, Bravo. I'll be back. I did see the movie, but it's been many, many years, so I will probably just listen. This is N5BB. I may not be back.
November 5, Hotel Yankee Papa, hasta la vista, baby. We saw the movie just now.
G5P. Adios. Can't see this on the radio. I'll be back. I saw the movie.
Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony, portable in Dallas. Oh, I did see the movie.
Test. Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. Brenda and DeSoto. Hasta la vista.
All right, let me get these checked in. We're going to be talking about the Terminator from 1984. N5BB, Bill, he's listen only. He did see the movie 300 years ago. It's okay, Bill. Get in your time machine and go watch it again. It's good. N5HYP, Tom, SL, and Company. Yeah, he saw it. The KG5P, Mike. He also saw the movie. NT5TM, Tony, Portable. He saw the movie. WB50ZL, Brenda. She also saw the movie. I'll take additional check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, the movie we are talking about is The Terminator. I'll take over air, then we will move to Echolink after that. If you've seen the movie and would like to join us, now I sound like Bela Lugosi. Please come with your call sign name. Did you see the movie?
This is Whiskey Tango 9 Victor, Mr. President. I saw the movie.
Hello, Foxtrot 5, Tango, Sierra Kilo, Berlin, Dallas. I did see the movie.
Okay, let me get those two I've got. Whiskey Tango Niner, Victor, Michael, yes, you saw the movie. I know you had a previous call sign in a previous life. I'll find that out later. KF5TSK, Burrow in Dallas, yep, he saw it. Let me go to Echolink. Echolink only, please come now. Did you see the Terminator? Please come with your call sign name. Did you see the movie?
This is Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, Jay, near Weatherford. Yes, I did see the film, and I cannot think of a quote other than "I'll be back."
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Delta Sierra, Billy in Sherman. Und ja, ich habe das Film gesehen. I'll be back.
Kilo Bell 5, Papa Mike November, James Fort Worth. I saw the movie.
Hey, we've got KG5BZWJ near Weatherford. He's checked in as, yes, seeing the movie. KF5PDS, Miss Billy in Sherman, yeah, she saw the movie. KG5PMN, James in Fort Worth, yeah, you saw the movie. I'll take check-ins, any mode, anywhere. In your best Arnold Schwarzenegger voice. Please come now. Did you see the movie? Oh, include your call sign. Not too bad. We'll get started. There's usually a few stragglers later on. Let's start at the top of the list. Bill is listen only. He's going to go listen to his 8-track recordings rather than talk on the net. That's okay, Bill. 8-track's still cool. And 5HYP, Tom, you and company, what did you think of the plot? We're talking about the plot, The Terminator. Please go ahead. This is KE5I6.
5ICX, this is N5HYP.
Enjoyed it. It had been a long time since we'd seen the movie. It plays very well. I mean, such as it is, the kind of strange little timey-wimey, we're going to go back in the past, and ultimately the guy who comes back to save Sarah Connor becomes the father of John Connor. There we go. It was a good movie. I mean, I think for what it was, it was very intense. And it holds up well, being, 25 years ago? Wow. No, crud. 34 years ago. Oh, my goodness, 35 years ago. That was a long time. The story, the movie itself holds up very well. Of course, in any time travel movie, there's going to be holes, but it was a fun ride. Back to net from N5HYP. Thank you, Tom. Very good. Next up, KG5P Mike. The plot. Please go ahead.
God, the plot. I've seen this movie before a long time ago. I've forgotten, exactly how it ended out. And I kind of figured out that, he was, the guy that came back with Arnold, whatever his name was. He was going to be the father of John Connor. One thing I like about this movie was it had some of these iconic lines, like Dirty Harry, you feel lucky today. No, that's not a Dirty Harry accent. But I'm doing the Arnold accent, and I can't stop. There've been a number of movies back then where the computers were taking over the world. And this was kind of another one of the series of computers taking over the world. But even though I'd seen it before, it really wasn't predictable. So I thought it was pretty well done. Arnold, I guess he was cast pretty well. His eye was damaged, so he plucks his eye out, and then you see him with his iconic black sunglasses on. So I probably saw it when it first came out, which was 34 years ago. So I'm glad I got to see it again. It was probably one of the better Arnold movies. He'd been in a bunch, and others I didn't really care for, but I think of all the Arnolds, this might have been the best. So back to that KG5P.
Mike, let's move down the list. NT5TM, Tony. Your thoughts on the plot from KE5I6.
Die Handlung des Films war sehr interessant. This movie is basically all plot. I'm going to skip ahead to character here and say the Terminator is bad, the humans are good, the woman who's supposed to be scared is very scared. The characters have almost no depth at all, so it's really up to the plot. But fortunately, the plot is well done. There are big things that are done well, like Aaron especially notices how difficult it is to be human. It's like a little microcosm. Arnold can just walk up and take some people's clothes, whereas the human is chased through a department store by a bunch of police because, of course, he can't just shoot the police. He's a good guy, but yet he still has to find shoes that are the right size. It's much harder to be human than an adding machine. It's harder to be good than bad. The plot even encapsulates that. The action rises continuously. We have this wonderful confusion over who is stalking Sarah Connor. Is it Arnold or the other guy? And then it's resolved. But we even get some tension and confusion over that. is all plot except for some effects which hold up to varying degrees. But the plot is really well done. The continuous rising suspense, the increasing pressure, the way the Terminator just won't die and it drags its mechanical intestines through the hydraulic press. I mean, hydraulic presses are very dangerous. We're so proud that Sarah Connor knew she had to close that safety door before the hydraulic press would close. Tough to do, but done well. NT5 to you.
Thank you, Tony. I just checked a couple of boxes there. You go to the head of the class. WB5OZL, Miss Brenda. Your comments on The Terminator.
This is WB5OZL. Well, I've always loved this movie. We had a copy, and we watched it. My kids watched it over and over, so of course I did, because I couldn't leave them alone in the house. Personal note, we went to a Terminator 2 convention just before it was released, so this is still the movie we were all thinking about. And the stars, this is in LA, the stars, or the guest speakers were James Cameron and Stan Winston, and Arnold was there, but he kept up the Terminator persona. He came out in the costume and the black sunglasses and stood on the stage and made some very obscene comments to the crowd, explained crazy, and loved it. And my kids got to sit on one of the motorcycles that they used in the movie with one of the leather jackets that they used and have their picture made, and you thought that was like the high point of their life at the time. So, yeah, big fan. I love this movie. Plot is just fine. I don't see any real holes in it. And I think one of the, probably jumping the gun, but the characterization, this thing is so well cast. Everybody in it is just perfect. And that's one reason why it works so well. I mean, it's obviously a totally unbelievable story, but we're buying in because it just seems, it's just done so well. Okay, back to net, WB5OZL.
Thank you, Miss Brenda. And this is KE5ICX. We're talking about the Terminator, the 1984 movie that started the whole Terminator series that just won't terminate. Next up, WT9er, Victor. That would be Michael. Welcome to the net. Your thoughts on the plot?
I gotta say this call sign often since I just got it, and I'm not used to it yet. Plot. There's not a whole lot to say, I don't think, that hasn't already been said, so I'm just gonna ramble about my thoughts about what I saw. Okay, so 3 billion people are dead, which is what they say at the beginning of T2. They didn't all die in the same place. Well, who piled all the skulls together? I mean, you see all the little robots going along, crushing skulls. I mean, if everybody in Dallas dropped dead, there wouldn't be that many skulls in one spot. But anyway, I watched the theater version of it. Naked Arnold, no cutaways, no nothing. So that was interesting. I thought that the menacing garbage truck that slowly is revealed as the guy taking out the garbage. That was such a nice touch, after the other menacing machine that, I don't know. I guess the best way to a thug's heart is through his stomach. And the other thought I had was, they said that only living things come through the time travel bit. But what about hair? Hair is dead. Hair is a dead part of your body. so it shouldn't come back. Everybody should come back home. That's my thought on that. And then, were answering machines really that big? Because, I don't know, I don't remember it. You already touched on the fact that these days, time travelers would be completely lost because we don't have any post books. I was thinking about that whenever I saw movies. There was also the way that the filmmakers do the thing where you have the machine code scrolling on the vision from the robot. It's like, wouldn't that be kind of distracting? Why is that there? And wouldn't they strip the comments out? Anyway, I don't know. I guess it's part of the tension, part of the keeping things going, but they always just barely get away. They never get ahead. There's never any point where they lose the Terminator. He's always just right there, right behind them. With the mall, and the parking garage, the police department, the cabin in the woods, the hotel, just right there. They could get a little interlude, but, I don't know. That's pretty much running out of things at this point. I'm rambling. So, 17IV, back to that.
Good, thank you, Michael. Good comments. I like that a lot. Next up, KF5TSK. Burl, your thoughts on plot?
This is KF5TSK. Well, I think there were no holes in the plot, and it was very enjoyable. I probably enjoyed it more rewatching it than I did the first time because I really didn't know what to expect or who was going to be shot or whatever. But one of the things that really bothered the movie was the detective was smoking. It's like, the chain smoker, and I was like, what will people think about this, 20 years from now to see a guy smoking this many cigarettes and having to drink coffee and so forth. One of the things I thought that was unusual about the movie was they have video recording, but there are no computers anywhere. And it's like, we didn't do video recording until we had computers, so what happened? KF5TSK back to net.
Thank you, Burl. And next up, KG5BZW, J. Nero Weatherford. Your comments on the plot?
This is KG5BZW. Okay, I just wanted to see if I was having some echoing trouble earlier. There's not much I don't know that I can say other than what's been said. It is very tight in terms of plot and like Tony said about the building up and the I don't know if I can even summarize what he said. This is a film that I like, but there are just some things that I have a few problems with. I'm not quite sure what it is though. will say this. I was looking for um, the trivia for this film in IMDb, and of course the producers for this film it seems like they wanted to end it at the gas or gas fuel truck. We don't know that it was gas fuel truck scene, and how they had to do a lot of arguing about stuff like that and other aspects which aren't plot related. But I'm really kind of glad that it did end where I mean, it continued on, I should say, because that kind of adds to the actual terror of the film. It'd be kind of a little bit cheesy if it just kind of ended just at the gas at that fuel truck scene. Uh, some things kind of took me out. Wasn't really sure. Again, this is not plot related. I'm kind of bouncing all over here. I guess I get to that one thing later. Do have to wonder about a Terminator actually going systematically over every Sarah Connor by alphabet. That just kind of seems, I don't know, like you might want to optimize by location or something. Or traveling salesman type deal. I don't know. But you know, you have to go with the limits of the film, and there's a lot with the especially. I don't know. There's just. I really wish I could say, because this is definitely not my favorite Schwarzenegger film. Just to get a few. Maybe I'm spoiled by Terminator 2. I really loved Terminator 2 when I first saw it, so I don't know. Just, but I don't. I'm just gonna have to end it there. You know, it's a decent film, but you know, I'll end it there. KG5BW back to net.
Next up, KF5PDS, Miss Billy. I know this is a favorite of yours. Your thoughts on the plot?
Good evening, Tom, and everyone on the net. Yeah, this is a favorite. I really enjoy this movie. It's been many years since I've seen it. Of course, I saw it originally in the theaters in '84 when it came out, but I've seen it over the years on TV and what have you, Netflix and so forth. I watched it on Netflix today, but it's been many years since I've seen it, so it was good to pull this one out and watch it again. It's very suspenseful. It's more suspenseful than I remembered it being. I felt more on edge because I haven't seen it in a while, so felt more, felt more of the suspense, and of course it's action packed. And I like the fact that there's there's action and build up to what's going on. It really kind of perpetuates the mystery, and then you finally get some exposition after the action dies down a little bit. Kind of during the action, you find out more information. And I agree with Tony. There's not any real character depth in this movie. It's just kind of establishing. And then maybe perhaps they knew they were gonna spin this out in more movies. I don't know if they had the sequel in mind when they made this film, and maybe that's why there was not a whole lot of character-driven stuff going on. It was more action and setting the scene for the situation, because I'm with Jay. I really love Terminator 2 Judgment Day. It was funny, right after this, I immediately wanted to watch that. It's like I was ready to roll on the franchise, but then they didn't have Terminator 2 on Netflix, so I was a little disappointed there. But because that, to me, is the more character-driven movie. The plot dials down and the characterization ramps up in Terminator 2. So this makes me wonder if they already had the sequel in mind when they were making this. I haven't read it a lot, haven't done any research online, but it's action-packed. It just keeps driving because the relentless nature of the Terminator just keeps pursuing them and pursuing, so the action keeps going and going until finally, at the end, we get the final conclusion there. And so I don't know. I was very into it, and it's been a good. I'm glad this was our movie that we selected because it's been a while since I've seen it. So again, I just action packed, and I was right there with it. I didn't really feel any drag in the film at all. I was just, but I didn't feel like it went on too long. I think they timed it just right. So really enjoyed the film. So with that, I'll return it to you. This is KF5PDS. Back to net.
Thank you, Miss Billy. And this is KE5ICX, and we're talking about The Terminator from 1984. If you saw this movie, I'm going to ask for additional check-ins in a minute or two, couple of minutes, maybe more. We'll see. KG5PMN, James over in Fort Worth. You saw this film. What did you think about the plot?
This is KG5PMN, James here in Fort Worth. About the plot, I thought the plot was kind of an action-filled 45 minutes chase scene. He's always chasing, trying to chase two humans and catch up with them and to do the girl in. I did think there was one hole in the movie after he shot up the police station. And then you heard a mention of something about a big manhunt, then never heard anything else about the police. The rest of the movie was taken up with some little bit of side action dramas, him explaining to where he came from and how things were going back then, and they always make the same mistake in the movies. She winds up and calls her mother, which was a mistake they made in Enemy of the State when the one guy calls his wife and winds up and leads the bad guys to him by making a phone call and telling them where they are. Don't know about Terminator 2. I hope the ending was not with the rest of the sequels of kind of the horror movies where the guy comes back from the grave. KG5PMN, back to the net.
Very good, James, and good comments. Let's see. Let me go ahead and make my comments on this film as far as the plot. I agree with what everybody said, and this is great because when you're net control, you always put yourself at the very bottom of the list so you can listen to everybody's comments and go, hey, you're right, that's exactly what I was thinking, even if I wasn't. And so it makes me fantastically introspective and understanding and extroverted and being able to provide all the information that everybody has already done. However, I'm going to make some additional comments on my own, and that is that I agree with what everybody said. I think the film really moved along very well. Were the characters somewhat superficial? We'll get into that next. But that is tied into the characters and how that all works out. I think that visually this film was really great. There were scenes in here that really connected. Schwarzenegger did a nice job with the 12 words he had in it, and he made them meaningful. And as was mentioned earlier, it really looked. His comments were memorable because nobody knew who Arnold Schwarzenegger was really that much at that point. I think he had done the first Conan movie, I think, and that was it. So, but he wanted to. No, never mind. I'll do that on characterization. In any case, it looked good. I liked the pacing in the film was excellent. Really, really great. What else comes out of this? My first impression, or I thought I knew this film, but apparently I didn't. I was thinking Terminator 2, which is a really good film and well produced, and somehow or another I thought that was the original movie. It was not. This was, and it holds up extremely well. It's really good to watch, very entertaining. As was mentioned earlier, the casting was good, which meant for good story telling, in the sense that everybody was really on their game. So maybe I should shut up because I think I'm venturing into all the other stuff. So this is KE5ICX. I'm net control for tonight's Afterglow Movie Net. We're talking about the Terminator. I'll take additional check-ins if anybody is out there who would like to join us. Please come to your call sign name and let me know if you saw the movie. That doesn't stop you from talking about the film. Maybe you haven't seen it in a long time. Maybe you saw it yesterday. Just let me know. Please come now. Okay, nothing. That's okay. Next up is Tom at the top of the list. We're going to talk about characterization. N5HYP, Tom and company, what did you think of characterization? Go ahead.
This is N5HYP. You know, as mentioned before, characters were shallow. It wasn't supposed to be. Well, I'll tell you what was probably one of the best characters, I think, and probably the reason why the Library of Congress chose to immortalize this film. The 80s hairstyles, for crying out loud, they were pretty darn good 80s. Sarah and her late roommate, who was so oblivious to the world with headphones on, you know, they were quintessential 80s hairstyles, and that's probably why the Library of Congress opted to save the movie for time and memoriam. And the kids at the mall with the spiky hair, the punk hair from the 80s. There we go. So I think that probably that was probably the character that tipped the scales and caused them to want to save it for in perpetuity. That's it. I will talk about special effects and the directing next round. This is N5HYP.
Okay, very good, Tom. And yeah, I had to resist too because I want to jump to the other parts as well because of the acting. It's okay. Okay, KG5P, Mike, your thoughts on characterization. Go ahead.
Thank you, KG5P. Oh, Brian, it's kind of hard to really talk specifically on characterization. I might go back and mention something that I forgot to mention before on the plot. One thing I liked about the plot was that they had about 2 or 3 anticlimactic endings. Every time they thought they killed off the Terminator, he'd come back, and then finally, they crunched him in the hydraulic press. The characters, as mentioned earlier, were pretty flat. It was really the plot that kept this movie, I think, from being really bad. But the plot was well done. I really can't say much about the characters. One thing that I noticed when they were running the credits was that it said that this was based on a series, on the works of Harlan Ellison. Harlan Ellison wrote a similar story for The Outer Limits called The Soldier. adapted from his own short story, The Soldier Out of Time. And another one that this movie I think drew on was Demon with a Glass Hand that we had discussed here once. That's not the name of the movie. I can't remember the name of the movie. Or maybe that was the name of the movie, but I think it was also an Outer Limits show that we did, Demon with a Glass Hand. So they did draw very heavily on Harlan Ellison. I really have not much else to say about the characterization. The big hair was already mentioned. Strictly out of the 60s, Arnold, he had a kind of his mod haircut because he was, I think this is when after he'd actually retired from bodybuilding and had not made it into politics yet. But that's about it in characterization. Not much, but again, the plot was what held us together. Back to net, KG5P.
Thank you, Mike. And I wrote some notes here because I asterisked this because one of the things in this, the Harlan Ellison thing, I really do want to talk about. I'm going to do it on the next round. I kind of forgotten about that, but there's a very hot topic. But I'm going to hold that for later because that was a big deal. NT5TM, Tony, your thought on characterization. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. I don't have too much, although I have one thing from me and one thing from Aaron. I never really took the Harlan Ellison soldier thing very seriously. Instead, I always thought the antecedent to Terminator was the Philip K. Dick story, The Second Variety. Do not read that before bed tonight. Never read Philip K. Dick right before bed. Bad choice, but The Second Variety, or Second Variety, is the short story to look for. So yep, and in fact, also in follow-up to Billy's comment, Aaron and I are watching Terminator 2 right now. If you watch one, you have to watch the other. Something that's kind of neat in both Terminator 2 and Terminator that feeds into characterization is how the Terminator, the bad one in each movie, is complete. It works on its own. But in each case, whether it's Kyle Reese or Arnold in T2, the good character from the future always has to collaborate, always has to participate in teamwork, and that's a nice gesture. Something that Aaron really appreciated is that no one, including Kyle Reese, could have known that Terminators just can mimic randomly any voice. So we have a trope in movies of the dumb woman who does something stupid. But we can't blame Sarah Connor for that in The Terminator, because why would The Terminator ever have shown that ability? You can probably also play chess and pilot airplanes and mop floors, but in the world Kyle Reese came from, it never needed to show any of those abilities, so he wouldn't have known about them and wouldn't have thought to warn Sarah. So not a whole lot to the characters, but it is neat to compare the two movies and to realize that parallel, that the good characters always have to collaborate and the villain is always a loner on its own. NT5TM.
Thank you, Tony. And I am eyeing my, my Roomba suspiciously. Let's see. Next up, WB50ZL, Miss Brenda. You have tons of comments about characterization. I can feel it. Tell us all from KE5I6.
Well, this is WB50ZL. As I said earlier, this is so well cast, and you can't imagine anybody but Arnold in this role. It just could not work. And Sarah Connor, she comes in and she's this mousy little thing, and she grows into be Sarah Connor before the show is over, which is pretty critical. And she's just this little meek and mild thing, and suddenly she's the woman that saves the earth. A lot of the lesser characters also that are in this, a lot of people that you see in other movies, so they have some good character actors in this. And the scripting was pretty good, I thought, and that helped with the characters, the characterization. So, do I have any complaints? Not really. Just thought it was pretty darn good. And I don't know what I would say to make it better. It's, you know, time travel shows are always tricky. And, you know, people, you know, they get kind of messed up trying to figure it out, but that's okay. Just suspend disbelief and enjoy it. Just go along for the ride. So, I'll have to say, though, Terminator 2 is one of my favorite all-time movies. So, I hope we can do that sometime. I'll turn it back. WB50ZL.
I'm sensing a pattern here. We're running out of road on a movie that we loved, which means something. Okay, next up, WT9V, Michael. Boy, I have to really wrap my words around that new call sign, but that's okay. It's short and sweet over Morse code. Michael, go ahead. Tell us, what do you think about the characterization?
Thank you, Tom. WT9V, Michael. What characterization? I mean, you know, it's like at the beginning you see the character as they are, and they have to stay that way through the whole movie. Like part of the movie, I was going to say the roommate that didn't do anything without the music going and dancing, and are there really people like that? Because I never met any. I did want to say something, a couple of comments about previous comments. One, perhaps the Library of Congress saved the Terminator because of the hairstyles, like you were saying, because, you know, the old saying about if you forget your history, you're doomed to repeat it, and maybe they wanted to make sure that those hairstyles never came back. And also, to the comment about video recording, they were doing video recording in the 60s, long before there were computers. There were briefcase-sized video recorders in the 70s. So, you know, computers, ubiquitous computers didn't start coming around until 80s, 90s, late 80s, 90s. So, video recording, yeah, perfectly, you know, in time. Anyway, I don't really have anything else except special effects stuff, so WT9V, back to next.
Hey, thank you, Michael. Yeah, we're all chomping at the bit for special effects and all the other things that go along with it. KF5TSK, Burl, you are doomed to tell us about characterization. Go ahead.
This is KF5TSK. Well, in looking at the movie, it was an hour and 47 minutes. If it had been longer, people would have gone to sleep or had to do something else. I look at the movie as developing a concept and not a character. The movie really wasn't about Sarah Connor. It's about developing John Connor, who was going to, lead this great army. What they were doing is they weren't really, developing a character. They were developing a sequel, and as we all know, that the sequels make money too. K5TSK back to net.
Thank you, Burrow. And I don't disagree. And Jay, KG5BZW. I don't know why I've said BZJ earlier. I knew a BZJ, but you're not BZJ. So KG5BZW, Jay, you're coming. Oh, I know why. Because your name is Jay. I figured it out. I got it. Time travel is in my future. Jay, your comments on plot. Not plot. What are we doing? Characterization. I got it. Jay, comments on characterization. KE5I6.
This is KG5BZW. You can also remember, because I ramble a lot, BZW's the initialism for or rather. So you've got that for you. Anyway, I thought I'd go ahead and give credit where credit is due here. You wouldn't think that playing, or I wouldn't think that playing a, emotion, I guess what you would call emotionless, stoic character like a Terminator wouldn't be that hard. But then you gotta realize how, there's been, I don't know, what am I trying to say here? When you see it done badly, you realize there's some effort to it. So, yeah, even though Arnold didn't have to do much, maybe in terms of acting, he did very well playing somebody without emotion and very little reaction. It just would not have succeeded if it hadn't been for that, I think. I found, I don't know, I don't help it. I for some reason, I'm just not a fan of Michael Biehn, at least in this film. He might be fine in other films. Not that he did bad or anything, and I'm sure he might have been better than some of the others they were looking at. I'm not sure that I like the character itself. I just thought, I don't know. Again, it's just one of those things. I'm having a little bit of trouble figuring out what annoys me about this film, even though there's a lot of good to it. I will say the cops, in particular Lance Hendrickson, and let me see, the Dr. Peter Sibelman. I thought they had definitely needed the humor to the film, even if it was a little kind of subtle. And of course, there's Bill Paxton, which I'm not sure he, I didn't realize Bill Paxton was the punk leader in this film. He did his part fine, sure. Certainly like him, but for other films. Linda Hamilton probably you know, that with Arnold probably carried the film. I nah, what else can I say? Um, and we're running out. Little, now we're time for the special effects, don't we? So I need to hand it to the next person. KG5BDW, back to net.
All right, thank you, Jay. Hang in there. We're going to talk about special effects and all that stuff, social and everything else. KFI PDS, Miss Billy, your comments on characterization.
Yeah, there's not always, given the characters, there's not a lot going on, but still, I agree with Brenda that it's neat to see, Sarah Connor start to come into her own, going from being this very timid girl to, realizing, that she has to, she's going to be the mother of the man who leads the resistance to help, humankind regain, and survive. Regain, I guess, its foothold over Skynet, over the machines. And so she realizes, she has a very important role to fulfill in the future. And, even though she's still coming to grips with that at the end of this first movie, she realizes, I think she starts to realize the scope of what's, going to come, but still is coming to grips with it. And I thought it was neat that she was doing the recordings for posterity, even though she said it was more for her at that point, just to keep it straight as to what's going on, because, anytime you have time travel going on, it does get very strange. And, this with the whole loop nature, it's like, things in the past are going to help, further the future. So it does get a little, mind-bendy, and so I thought that was a cool idea of hers to make kind of a diary of sorts. And I'm just wondering what happened to those tapes. You think, John would have preserved those? Maybe he did, and that's, it would have been neat to have seen that play out, like, further down. Maybe they do something like that in a further movie. I haven't seen beyond the second movie. But and then of course, yeah, I agree with the her roommate with the Walkman. Oh yeah, we all had the Walkman and and played music on it, but I don't remember it making us that oblivious to the world where that's all we did. But it definitely provided, soundtrack to our lives, So I think that's part of the cultural aesthetic of the film. And of course, yeah, I agree with Jay with Bill Paxton. I had forgotten he was in that film, and so seeing him show up with his spiked blue hair was a perfect touch. So, and he does great character work in all the films that he played in. So that was a fun thing that was a good surprise. I had forgotten about that. So that helps flesh out the 80s feel. And of course, going into the tech noir club, that really firmly cements it with the 80s feel. But but seeing that, and of course Michael Bihn's character brings humanity and ties it together and tries to give her the scope and the importance of her role in all of this, and the love story, etc. But I also thought it was neat with the Terminator himself, to see the human layers of his cyborg strip away, and eventually by the end you see him just as, tech. You see him with the cold metal laser eyes and, and very sinister. So I thought that was really well done, the way they did that. They just did it in bits and pieces at first, with the eye, and then you saw the eye come through, and of course he hides it with the sunglasses, the quintessential sunglasses. But then by the end, he goes through that fire, and that burns away the human layer to where all you see is the cold, harsh Terminator in all its machining glory, So that really does make it a lot more sinister that, yes, you are being pursued by a machine, and now there's no mistaking him. He can no longer blend in, and it's very obvious what's pursuing them. So I thought that was really interesting, and I liked the flashback nature of the story, too, how they wove, well, I guess flash forward nature, really, because they would flash forward to the future scenes, and you saw the other kind of replicating Terminator, I forget, infiltrators, I think is what they called them, who broke into their camp, and the dogs were what signified, this gave the signal to the humans because they could, suss them out on a whole other level. They could tell which were the machines and which were humans, and so I thought that was a neat touch, so dogs played an important role. I wish they had used them more in the film, but I noticed when she was traveling at the end, she had a dog with her, which was very important, not just to have a companion, but also to help protect her. She saw that as a layer of protection, so I thought that was a nice touch at the end. And, of course, the young boy providing the foreshadowing with saying the storm is coming. So there was some characterization there, but not a lot. The second movie is where they really go into the characters. So, I think Tony said, you can't watch one without wanting to watch the other. They're just a perfectly paired up set of movies. But I haven't seen anything further than that, so I'm not sure how the franchise plays out. But I enjoy the first two movies very much. And I agree with Tony. I don't read Philip K. Dick before bed, and also do not read Harlan Ellison before bed either. So, but I would like to read the story that Tony mentioned, so thank you for bringing that up. So with that, that's all I've got. I'll return it to you, Tom. This is KFI PDS. Back to net.
Thank you, Miss Billy, and super comments as always. This is KE5ICX. I'm net control for tonight's Afterglow Movie Net. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about Skynet. That was earlier. We are talking about Skynet now. The Terminator. The Terminator is the movie that we are discussing, and we are almost to the bottom of the list, but not quite. Geez, that sounds terrible. KG5PMN, James, your comments on characterization. Go ahead, sir.
This is KG5PMN. What else can I say about characterization? I don't know much else I can say about what other people have already said. I do agree with them, what they said about Sarah Connor getting more proactive toward the end, and with knowing what she was going to be doing, getting stronger. The one thing that did surprise me about the characters, I figured one of the police officers would eventually come around and figure out the guy was telling the truth when he was being interviewed as he was getting the station shot up, but that never happened. KG5PMN, back to the net.
All right, thank you, James, and I have some comments on that, too. I guess it goes back to plot, is that one of the things that drives me nuts about movies is that when you go and you create combinations of evidence, and then it's thrown away. Well, you can't be this, can't be that. In the, and I'm talking in generalities. is that in the end, what happens is that nobody believes the characters, and it becomes unbelievable. It's like 555-1212 as a phone number, and that gets kind of weird in the end because it advances the plot and creates characters who have to defend themselves because the system doesn't work. And I guess that's kind of weird, although it's becoming less weird in this world. I don't know. It pulls you out of the moment. And I like stories where you can go ahead and allow the facts to speak for themselves, and then they allow a forward motion that allows the ability to stop whatever is going to happen, and particularly in movies, because that's what the whole idea is, that we get through, in this case, action-adventure, the ability to get through the situation in a way that allows for a orderly conclusion, which we do not get in this film. I'm in agreement with everybody else about characterization. It's somewhat simplistic, but that's okay, because in the end, what's happening is that it is being set up, maybe for a sequel. Certainly A Storm is Coming suggests that there's a sequel coming because it's off in that storm, which I thought was, pretty obvious at the end of the film. Now, could they figure that out at the beginning? I don't think so. This was definitely a handout for everybody in the future. That there would be another film. Don't forget, this is 1984, and every film had a sequel. Every film in the 80s had a sequel. And so this kind of made sense in the end. Can we monetize this thing and go forward? All right, this is KE5 ICX. I'll go ahead and see if there's any additional check-ins. Anybody out there who would like to talk about the Terminator, please come now with your call sign, your name, and your best Terminator voice. Okay, nobody. Boy, I thought somebody would come out of the woodwork. Let's go to the top of the list. Here's what we'll do. We'll open it up to any conversation about this movie you would like to make. We'll start with Tom. N5HYP, your final comments on this fine film. Please come now.
Hey, Tom and Nanette again. This is N5HYP with Holly on the side. Again, like I said earlier on, I think the movie, because of the way the story was driven, because of the way it was directed, flows pretty well. It keeps moving. It doesn't have any real slow spots. Probably about the slowest spot was at the beginning again when Sarah and her roommate were getting ready for their date nights. It just kind of that little part moved slow, but everything else was great. And it's a real testament to Mr. Cameron and his directing. You know, obviously, films he's done over the years have been much bigger, but this was a good sign moving forward. And you know, when you know, you have a lot of action, you don't have to really develop characters. So that's why we don't have that. It was good. It was a nice ride for what it was. Yes, has iconic lines and Later on, Arnold got to say a whole bunch more in other movies, like, it's not a tumor. So, there we go. Back to net from N5HYP. Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Holly, for your comments this evening. I want to remind everybody that there is the Harlan-Ellison dispute. If you know what that is about this movie, you can talk about it. Otherwise, you can talk about anything you want on this film having to do with time travel, Arnold Schwarzenegger, James Cameron, anything you want. Let me move to KG5P. I think Mike has a couple of comments. Go ahead. KG5P from KE5ICX.
All right, KC5ICX, KG5P. Okay, thanks, Tom. Well, Harlan Ellison has always been a favorite writer of mine ever since I was in high school. Apparently, there was a dispute with James Cameron. James Cameron didn't consult him. This is his story. So, Harlan Ellison sued James Cameron. He was awarded like $65,000 or something like that. He said if James Cameron would have asked him, he said he could have used the story. Otherwise, I guess it cost him $65,000. And at least in the version, the movie that I saw, which was on Voodoo, they said that based on the works of Harlan Ellison. So I think they put that in there too as part of resolving their lawsuit. But you know, as Philip K. Dick and Harlan Ellison, they write some scary stuff, no doubt about it. You know, Stephen King is a little bit different genre, but same kind of stuff. So that's all I had to say about that. There was that dispute, and of course, Harlan Ellison is no longer with us. But I think his daughter sometimes gets involved with some of that stuff, or maybe it's his wife. So anyway, that's all I had. Back to NetKG5P.
Mike, and some of the comments I wanted to make, and you got it, and I will make additional comments afterwards. NT5TM, Tony. Oh, by the way. Oh, never mind. Go ahead. Tony, your comments on anything you want about this film.
Well, thank you, Tom. Besides Bill Paxton, who Aaron caught on to before I did, the actor I caught on to before Bill Paxton was Lance Henriksen from Aliens. So I don't know if they ever saw each other. I don't know if they were ever on the set on the same day, but we have two people who were in Aliens and in the excellent vampire movie Near Dark, making early appearances in Terminator. And then a woman who is one of the vampires in Near Dark appears in Terminator 2. I can't recall her name, but we've got a nice little bit of continuity there. I think that's pretty cool. Yep, definitely a lot of 80s flavor. I got a vote with the person. We had a video recorder years before we had a computer. Computers were just not common in private homes before the late 80s. It was kind of a different thing. NT5TM. And I'm eagerly awaiting, Tom, what it was you didn't want to say before I said something. Maybe you'll have to say something after.
Okay, Tony, if I can remember what it was I was going to say before you mentioned that you thought that I was going to say something and then distracted me with actual information. Okay. WB5OZL, Brenda, your comments about anything you want about this film.
Thank you, WB50ZL. Don't forget, Aliens also had Michael Bean, as well as Lance Hendrickson and Bill Paxton. So, I don't know what all that's about, but it works. They're just incredible actors, and I just love to watch them. The producer, Galen Hurd, married James Cameron the next year. He sold her the rights to this movie for $1. Wikipedia didn't explain the story, it just stated the facts. I'm really wondering what the story is. May have been part of a divorce settlement or something. But then in the 90s, he married Linda Hamilton. He has been married a lot, and he often marries people that he works with in these movies. Let's see, what else can I say about this? It's really kind of been talked to death, and it's almost midnight, and I'm getting kind of tired, so I think I'm going to stop there. And one more parting shot. At the convention we went to, they had this robot that's just the skeleton, the metal skeleton, standing on a big pile of skulls. And you look at his teeth and you realize it's an exact cast of Arnold Schwarzenegger's teeth. They actually used his the real mold to make this scary skeleton. So, and it had red eyes. So, that was fun. All right, back to net, WB50ZL.
Thank you, Miss Brenda. This is KE5ICX. WT9 Victor. Michael, your comments, anything you want about this movie. Go ahead.
Thank you, Tom. I was just writing myself a note so I don't forget things, because, I'm old and forgetful. WT90. Special effects. There's a miracle of freeze frames, which they didn't have back then, obviously. I noticed that when the Terminator takes the X-Acto knife to his eye, looking at it from the side view, there's no blade. It's a knife. I guess Arnold didn't want to, risk a twitch at the wrong time or something. I'd forgotten about the tanker, whenever a glowing-eyed robot said, "Get out," I did. I was definitely get right then. And that leads directly to the thing I think makes me least non-believing, or that I have the most trouble believing about the whole movie, and that if you burn a robot and burn all of its skin off, in a conflagration like that, it's not going to be gleaming. Somebody took that guy around back and polished him after that fire, and we didn't see any of it. So I was thick continuity error right there. I got a problem with that part. But then, I don't know, I don't understand why the Terminator suddenly looked like he was an extra from Jason and the Argonauts after he'd lost his skin. I mean, I know it's sort of an old film, but I think it had better special effects. It didn't have to be that jerky, weird, stop-motion stuff, I guess. At first I thought, they had better dinosaurs back then, but then I ripped it up and that was several years later. WT9V, back to net.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. It's some really good comments. Let's see, let me move on to KFI TSK. Burl, your final comments. Go ahead. Anything you want.
This is KF5 TSK. Well, one of the things that I've been thinking about is one of those exoskeletons disappeared, and no one remembered where it went. And I was thinking it was after. I think they made 3. One was kind of a full body, and then one is, with his legs chopped off, sort of dragging through that metal fabricating mill. But overall the special effects were great. One of the things that I really remember is that tanker truck that blew up, and it was not only it blew up, but there was fire everywhere, and Sarah Connor was walking around in the middle of it. It's like, well, gee, if it was gasoline, it would have gone up pretty fast. And it might have been pretty hot, and you might want to get out of there. Camp 5 Kids came back to net.
Thank you, Pearl. Okay, the repeater has reset itself, so you will want to drop carrier more frequently, especially on Echolink. Remember this, you're going to have to drop carrier, I don't know, do it every 1 minute or so in your conversation, because otherwise everything gets, the repeater hates us. So next up is KG5BZW. Jay, your comments on anything you want about this movie, please go ahead. From KE5ICX.
This is KG5BZW. I thought I knew what I wanted to say, but it's just, it's up coming out. Special effects, fine, age pretty well. Even some of the things I've seen be criticized, I really can't complain about the fake head that they use in part of the swapping back and forth between the Terminator as Arnold and the Terminator as the head. Yeah, it didn't quite look the same, but I mean, how is it? It looked pretty. It was still pretty convincing enough. I mean, knowing what they had at the time, it was definitely convincing. Or rather, well, anyway, other bits. Goodness, I'm feeling pressure. I don't know what else to say. And so I guess I won't say it. I mean, I like the special effects. A lot of interesting little tidbits and trivia about this, but we're running late, so I'll hand it to the next person. KG5EZW.
Jay. Next up is Miss Billy, KFI PDS. Any comments you want to leave us with, please come now.
I have 3 things that I thought of. I thought of an earlier line that was in the movie when the little kid put the ice cream scoop in her pocket when she was at work. She was not having the best day, it looked like. And her coworker leaned over to her and said, just think of it this way, in 100 years, nobody's going to care. and she couldn't have been more right. It was very chilling foreshadowing. So um, after you watch the film, you realize the foreshadowing and of that line. So I just meant to mention that earlier, but I didn't. Special effects to me did not hold up very well. The flying machines looked kind of hokey. For the 80s, I don't know, I guess for the time, the special effects were what they were, but it just seems like they could have been better. But they were, winning all kinds of awards and things for best special effects with those kinds of effects. But I guess we're spoiled now with CGI. But yeah, I agree with the Jason the Argonauts comment. I kind of thought the same thing about the stop motion. Now Stan Winston is the man. I love Stan Winston special effects. But yeah, just all of a sudden the stop motion today, I guess, is very obvious because, again, I think we're spoiled with CGI. But and also watching it on full HD, you can tell when they're shutting the door and the machine is coming towards them. You can see the green screen. You can tell it's green screened. But I think that's just because of our technology today makes those special effects not hold up quite as well. And so I did, to me the special effects did not hold up. The Arnold head to me is just awful. It just looks so obviously fake. Again, it's looking at it now 35 years later. So, but I don't know, to me, I don't know, it's just so obviously bad. To me, I didn't really enjoy the special effects as much as I guess I used to. And the third thing I can think of, let me drop carrier so I don't time out. I've got one more comment. The other thing that struck me as kind of funny was when they were making the pipe bombs and he was telling her to be oh so careful and was carefully wiping the threads and not to get any of the plastic anywhere, was telling her to handle them very gently. And then later in the movie when he was frustrated and angry, he was just taking them and just shoving them forcefully into a duffel bag. And I just laughed out loud at that because that just, to me, was just funny. I was just like, well, so much for handling those carefully. And so that struck me as funny. But other than that, I guess I really can't think of anything else. I thought the music was kind of cool. It was kind of reminiscent of Walter, a.k.a. Wendy Carlos type synthesizer, kind of also John Carpenter-ish, but not quite as good, but it lent to the movie. I liked the techno, the tech music to go along with the movie. So, and kind of the analog synth, which today now are vintage, but I love analog synthesizers. So I thought the music was kind of cool and lent to the machine feel. So other than that, I really can't think of anything. I've enjoyed it. Can't wait to hear what we're going to do next time. So this is KFI PDS, back to net.
Thank you, Miss Billy. At the bottom of well, no, it sounds terrible. KG5PMN. Papa Mike November. James, your comments on anything you want to say about this movie. Go ahead.
This is KG5PMN. I thought the special effects were probably pretty good for what they had at the time in 1984. Make the comment, I've read Stephen King's book Christine before I saw the movie, and then I thought the movie was horrible. But then realizing that the special effects in the movie at the time, they probably couldn't have duplicated with the book because they didn't have that much technology. I imagine nowadays with computer graphics and technology that they have with the computer, Christine would be a whole lot better movie. The other issue I had was the fact that he asked for an Uzi at the gun store, and I don't know what automatic weapons were back in that time period, but back around 1935, they pretty much outlawed all personal buying of automatic weapons, so I don't know if that was still that restricted back then, I'd imagine it was. KG 5 p.m. in, back to the net.
That was an interesting scene. That brings up other conversations, but yeah, it was quite interesting. Wow, I got all these different things. Here you go, and then he turns around and they have the rounds there, which probably doesn't make any sense because it shouldn't be available. I suspect that stuff's figured out. But in any case, you're right. That was quite fascinating. As far as everything to me, as far as the film was concerned, I really enjoyed the heck out of it. I really did. I thought the special effects overall were quite good for 1984 with a low-budget movie. I got this stuff figured out. I was particularly impressed with the motorcycle scenes with Arnold on the motorcycle and the bombs going off and he's going through all that stuff. It reminded me a little bit of some of the stuff that happened with George Kennedy and what he did with what the hell was it? The movies with oh, jeez, I'm getting tired. I can't remember. You know what I'm talking about? The post-apocalyptic things in Australia. In any case, I thought overall the film was really well done. Was done in a way that was very straightforward and likable. The characters were okay, given the material that they had, but overall the film was really presented in a straightforward way that really worked, a straightforward and honest way, which I thought was really, really great. One of the things that bothers me today is that films have a tendency, and my monologue here, have a tendency to be so digitally overwrought in such a way that you can't believe anything that's going on because it's so over the top. And as such, it really doesn't make it enjoyable because you're going, I'm out of the bubble. Everything is just so crazy and so over the top that you can't really enjoy it. This film has, because of the fact that it doesn't have the budget, or didn't have the budget at the time, everything had to be done in real time. And as such, it makes it more legitimate. If something blows up near you, you go, wow, that's dangerous, and it shows. And it shows on the actors' faces, or at least the stunt doubles, maybe, perhaps. The acting, too, has an opportunity to interact in a way that is more instantaneous, more in the present day. I like that, and this movie had that in spades, and that's, I think, one of the reasons why it advanced forward in such a way that people really liked it, and we still like it. So when we get films with so much special effects to the point that the special effects diminish performances, diminish story, and that it bugs me, and it worries me that we lose sight of telling a story. Was this the best movie ever made? No, but it spawned, 4 or 5 sequels, so it was pretty damn good. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Let's see. The next movie we're going to do, everybody write this down. This may not be that good. It may be, who knows. Nightfall from 1988. 1988. This is from the Isaac Asimov story, screenplay by Paul Myersberg. So we'll see. I will be probably on Echolink I'll bring everybody into that later on that are involved with Skynet and all of that. I will be probably out of town. In any case, I want to thank everybody who checked in this evening. Hope everybody enjoyed it and had a good time. And I'm beginning to wear down because I've been up for a while. I want to say 7-3 to everybody. Thank you for participating this evening. Join us next week for the Night of Net, starting at 6:30 and going until 12 o'clock or beyond. See y'all. Don't forget, the Invaders is on at, what is it, 11 o'clock? Yeah, 11 o'clock, I think. Which is a rare program. It's over on MeTV. See y'all. 7-3. Good night. KE5ICX. I'm clear.
We've got 5. That's Bravo Alpha. How copy?
This is NT5TM. I heard somebody there ending in Alpha. Not very well. You're pretty rough, but I can hear a voice.
Still Bravo 5. That's Bravo Alpha. How copy?
Something Foxtrot Alpha. I copy you very poorly, very poorly. You are mostly noise, mostly noise. NT5TM.
Bravo 5. That's Bravo Alpha. Here, CI Boulevard exit on the 5.
Okay, I apologize, but I really got very little of that. This is MT5TM. I'll be very happy to help with transmitter tests tomorrow, but for now I'm going to bed. Thank you, Tom, very much.